כן, נתיבות שלום, ספר במדבר, פרשת שלח, the מרגלים, right? That's the famous thing that we are still paying for that, let us say, big mistake. So פרשת המרגלים צריכה ביאור רב, needs a lot of explanation because allegedly it's very, like it's tamuha, right? Tamuha is like a wonder, it's a big question here. All the things that they requested to tour the land, right? That you're going to check the land. What's about it? And the people that dwelling in Israel, are they strong? Are they weak? There are a lot, there are a few. The land is good, the land is bad. He said, "V'alo ador ha'u enehem ra'u et ha'hanaga al tevit b'yetziat Mitzrayim v'kriat Yam Suf." But that generation that were in the Midbar, and again, we need to remember, right, that was very close to the time that they left Egypt. It's before the punishment of the 40 years in the desert. So they just saw the 10 plagues, splitting of the sea, eating man. Everything is one big miracle or multiple miracle. Why you need even to check the land? Hashem told you that He's going to bring you to the land of milk and honey. Everything will be good. So everything is going to be good. Excellent. You don't need to check anything. They have the Ananekavod, right? The clouds and everything that guide them through night, through day. They have water coming out from rocks, eating the man. So they have good life, right? Why they need to have spies? And who cares if they're strong or weak? Hashem created them, right? So it's a big question. And how they have doubts that Hashem that promised them the land of milk and honey, and you need to check them, right? And it says in Sefer Dvarim later on, right, when Moshe is giving them the summary to the generation that is about to enter the land of Israel. So over there is adding another thing, and basically here in the week's parsha, it's look like Moshe initiated, but here in Sefer Dvarim, it said that the people initiated it, or they did it in the same time, as it said, "V'tikrevunu elai," you got close to me, all of you, and you will tell me, "V'tavru nishlecha anashim lefanenu v'yachtoru lanu et haaretz," send people to dig the land and to see what's going on. V'yitav b'nai hadavar, and it was good in my eyes. This is what Moshe is saying. So Moshe also liked the idea to send spies. Another explanation, what Hashem told Moshe, "Kol nasi b'hem," you send the leaders. And this is what Moshe did, right? So why you have to send the leader, right? We talked about it in few years, like if you're sending a spy to your enemy, to the country of your enemies, you want to send somebody that will be able to blend, that is not outstanding, is like a James Bond character, but not like in the movie, right? And you're not sending your leader, your most valuable assets to the enemies, right? So something here is going on for sure, right? So, but you need the leaders to fulfill that task of being spy. And another explanation we need to have the decree of the 40 years in the desert, because with that decree, even the kids that were not 20 years old needed to wait 40 years, right? So the one from 20 to 60, they died. But what about the young one? Why they need to suffer 40 years? Okay, so we have few questions here. Why sending spies in first place? Why sending your leaders? Why to have a punishment of 40 years that is like a global a punishment? Vainyan, right? So it says, it's like our sages said, Shlach lecha anashim, send people, lecha leda'atcha, to according to your agenda, right? Which means Moshe הייתה דעה מיוחדת. Moshe have a da'at, a specific one, and a specific agenda to send the spies to the land of Israel. And that's why it says, "V'itav hadavar be'einei Moshe." And that thing to send spies was good in the eyes of Moshe. To send the spies, that was a good thing, according to him. But he had his own agenda, right? The spies have a different agenda. So Moshe wanted to know about not the physical situation or condition of the land of Israel, but he wanted to know about the spiritual level. So the spies they said, okay, you know, again, they were leaders, right? They were not simple people from the street. And everybody understood that we're going to get to the land of Israel. They're going to basically live normative life, right? So in the desert, they have the man. Their clothing were getting laundry every night. The clothing were growing according to them. They had no problems. Not what about the kids, the education of the kids, getting them married, to have an apartment. Nothing, no worries at all. But now when they're going to get into the land of Israel, they're going to work the land. They're going to have, you know, a mundane life over there in that sense, on the physical level. So that was their agenda. They wanted to check the land, what's going on. Moshe wanted to check the spiritual, because in the land of Israel at the time, there were other nations. And it says here, הרי לעומת זה כוחות הסטרא אף גדולים יותר. They are like the other side, like the negative forces were dwelled and they were aggregated in the land of Israel. As it says, Amalek yoshev ba'aretz, right? Be'eretz HaNegev. So the Amalek is in the south, where basically I think the Gazi and the Palestinian are today. והחיתי והיבוסי והאמורי יושב בהר, and they are sitting in the mountain. And the Knaani is on the sea, on the beach, and near the Jordan River. So all of them are nicknames, right, for the evil forces that actually were in the land of Israel. And Moshe wanted to spy. He wanted to know what the weaknesses in order to how we should be prepared, right? The Bnei Israel, the Israel, how to prepare themselves on a spiritual level. To know where is the hater, where they are aggregated, all the shells, and what's the way to overcome them. And this is the explanation. Achazaku arafeh. Is it strong or weak? Which means the shell. What's the way to break these forces, these shells? Because there are places, there are lands that in their nature, the people that live over there are good people and they have a good character. And there are some countries that the land actually grow the opposite, bad people with bad character. So he sent to see what's the spiritual atmosphere of Israel. Is it good or bad? Because it's all part of a spiritual preparation prior to enter the land of Israel. You know how to fight back. And for that, you have to send spiritual people. The leader of Bnei Israel, they were spiritual leaders. They could assess, they could evaluate the spiritual condition of the land of Israel. But that was not their agenda. Their task was on the physical part to check. Because they knew they're going to be a regular nation, like with all the other things, right? Working, getting salary, paying bills, working the land, having credit card, minimum
And they're
payment
going to
every
lose
month.
they're going to lose their top jobs. They're going to lose their power. They're going to lose their titles.
Exactly. There's a lot to lose here, right? A lot to lose here. But that's the thing, because in the desert, they were all learning Torah every day, all day. And that's like the best, right? Because we know that the Torah is our life, right? We need to learn Torah. But that's not the way you should learn the Torah. You should learn the Torah where you're still living your life. So that was the main purpose of getting to the land of Israel. And with that we explained that ואם עשו בארץ חמדה, right? So the Meraglim, that they despise a very desired land, right? And even it's unbelievable, right? When you look at it, even today, when Israel actually don't have really any nature resources like gold, diamond, cobalt, oil, whatever, right? Even the gas we found in the middle of the sea, and there is still like some debate about if it is the territorial water of Israel or not, right? So we don't have resources. It's a small, tiny little land, and still nation are fighting over it, and still we are in the headline in the news. It's still like in the center. Unbelievable, right? So he said, so they despised that desired land. But he said, but it looked like they didn't really despise the land of Israel itself. because on the contrary, they said, "Ba'anu la'aretz asher shalachtanu," right? We came to the land that you sent us. V'gam, and also, that's the key. Also, zavat chalav v'dvash, it's a milk and honey. But they got frightened from the nation that dwelling on the land. But he said this is the divine level and a special level of the land of Israel. That it's not like the rest of the countries in the world. And like as it says, Eretz asher Hashem Elokecha doresh ota tamid. Ene Hashem Elokecha ba. Right? So it says in the verse that the land of Israel is like being controlled, supervised, watched, managed, whatever we want to use, directly by Hashem, not by an angel. And that's why it says that anyone that's live kol hagar michutz l'Israel, right? Anyone that live outside Israel, it is if like he doesn't have a God. That's a very harsh verse, but it's true. Not that we don't have a God, of course we have. But when we live outside the land of Israel, Hashem is not managing the country. It's the angels that managing the country. But in Israel, it is directly by Hashem, above nature, above law and order. And that's the explanation. V'yimasu be'eretz chemda, and they despise the land of the desired land, because the Meraglim, despite didn't believe, they didn't have the faith in the supernatural management of the land of Israel. And this is the kfira yoter gdola b'kedusha, and this is like being a heretic, not to believe and not to have the faith that the land of Israel have a higher level kedusha, divine kedusha, because it's a spiritual land, and they despise that because they thought, no, it's a country like any other of the countries, and that's why also Moshe was very upset from which were the tribe, Reuven and Menashe, if I'm not wrong, that they decided to live in the other side of the Jordan River, right? Because of the grass that they have over there, grass fed.
Hey, grass is
yeah,
can be very expensive.
Yeah, no, grass fed. They have very good steaks over there. And by the way, if you look by amount of arei miklat, like in refugee cities, right? When somebody accidentally killing someone, then he's running away to Ir Miklat. In that area, there were more, because it says that land over there grow murderers. So it was not a good thing to be over there. So sometimes it's not a good decision, because you have lots of grass over there for your sheep and cows, etc. But I'm sure on the other hand, they had good steaks. So
grass is money.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's money. So they're fighting over money.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Nothing new.
Exactly. You're right. Nothing new. Yeah, you're right. But that was not a good area. That place over there. Yeah, right. So they despised in that desired land because they thought it's like a country like the other countries. They didn't have the faith that Hashem is controlling it directly. So now, if that's the case, right? So so it's like. So okay, so that's why they were afraid about the giant that live over there. But for us, like for Hashem, it doesn't matter if they're giant or midget, right? Because they didn't need to fight with them. Many of them just ran away when they heard that we're coming. So even though they were supposed to get into the land and have a normal life like any other nation, still it was a miracle. And other miracle happened. So it says, so what's the thing that we're gaining the Gedusha of the land is by the faith that we have. So according to the effort that we put to root in ourselves the faith that the land of Israel have a supernatural ruling by Hashem, this is how we gain to the Gedushat Haaretz. And it's not a joke. And it says that Eretz Israel niknet be'isurim, like you acquire the land of Israel by suffering. It's like each and everyone. The fact that we're living in exile, it's called like a chov galut. It's like a death of exile. It's not a good thing. We should live in Eretz Israel, and everyone have his own reasons. Why not? But bottom line, we should be there. It says, so the spies, they didn't believe, they didn't have the faith of the Anaga Al-TV, the supernatural, and they wanted to prevent themselves and the entire nation from getting into the land of Israel. So that's why the punishment was, ורק תפכם אשר אמרתם לבז יהיה, הם יבואו וירשו. So they said, we don't want to go into the land, they're going to kill us, they're going to take our children, they make them slaves. The chef said, oh, really? The children that you thought that they're going to be slaves, they are actually the ones that are going to inherit the land. Because they have the simple, basic faith that Hashem is controlling. And because of that, they will be able to inherit the land. And our Holy Torah is infinite, right? So we know that anything that's happening in the Torah, and it looks like a story that happened that time, is applicable to all generations, to all time. It's infinite. We said, and that thing is relates or belongs to each and every Jew. That the strength or the gaining of the inheritance of the land and to accepting the Gedusha of the land of Israel is by having the faith that we know that Hashem is there directly. And anything that relates to the land of Israel, it's Al-TV, right? And we have so many recent proof to that. How many tens, if not hundreds, thousands of rockets were fired on Israel in the last 30 years? It's unbelievable when you look at the amount of them. And everybody say, oh yeah, it's open area, open area. The amount of rockets, even if you just send them, one rocket to a feet, it will cover, I think, the entire land. So that's like a simple miracle that we have almost every day. So everything in Israel is supernatural. As he wrote in the book of the Kuzari, כי בארץ ישראל מאיר אור האלוקות, המאיר לישראל בתורה והעבודה ובכל נקודות החיים. So he said that in the land of Israel there is a divine God light that enlightening to Israel in the Torah, in Avodah, right? Avodah is sacrifices, learning, etc., in all the spiritual level. And he brings an analogy like a vineyard, that the appropriate place for the grapes to grow, if you really want to have a quality wine, is in the mountain, on terraces, because in the mountain you have a level, you have a cool air, etc., etc. So that's why the best place for the Jews to live and to be able to fulfill the spiritual task is in the land of Israel. Because only there we can actually achieve spiritual level. And you can acquire them only in the land of Israel. But the same way we have spiritual level, we have the opposite, right? Hashem is always creating the balance, right? Check and balances. So the more you have Gedusha in the land of Israel, you have also the Tuma, unfortunately. It doesn't take anything away from the Gedusha, but now you have to really work harder not to bend and not to fail because of the Tuma. As Yoshua and Caleb, they said, Tova Aretz Mod Mod, the land is very, very good. Even though you still have all the shells and the evil inclination and the negative forces dwelling in the land, it's still very, very, very good. Right? Ubod often, in another way, it says in the Be'er Mayim Chaim, to explain this question, right? Why we need the leaders, etc. So, and also why it was good in the eyes of Moshe, because he liked also the idea of sending spies. And he explained over there lengthily, but here we're giving some kind of a summary. He said, the same way that we learned that before the Bnei Israel went down to Egypt, because Egypt was a place of immorality things and negative desires, right? Were very strong, witchcraft, etc. So before that, we had a preparation. And even though that was a very filthy place with immorality thing, when we left Egypt, nobody was parutz and arayot. Nobody was like, yeah, they did idol, they didn't do brit milah, they did many sins, maybe, etc., but not a specific one that was the one that the main one of Egypt. And we need to understand what?
No intermarriage either.
Yeah, no intermarriage except one.
One. That was not. That was forced.
Yes, yeah, that was forced. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So to say what's the strength? How they could hold on all of these years, right? 200 years over there. So Hashem, prior to that, he was like doing it in phases, right? It was a preparation. So first, Avram Avinu and Sarah went over there, and Pharaoh kidnapped her, right? Nothing changed. And then when he was bitten by Hashem, he understood there is something wrong, that she's marrying to Avram eventually. So he actually, Pharaoh wanted to give her all his property, everything, so she will marry him. And of course, she didn't, right? But then he gave her presents, money, whatever, to Abraham and the land of Goshen. But that was like the first step in the preparation. And then Yosef went down to Egypt. And by not failing to the temptation of the wife of Potiphar, he bring more Kedusha into that land of Tuma. And then Yaakov Avinu sent the tribes over there, right? Judah came first, building a yeshivot, etc. Yosef, by the way, he didn't mention here, but he told the Egyptian that if they want to eat the food, because they were starving, then they have to do a Brit Milah. They were in shock, but they did it eventually, and that was again weakening the shell of these desires. So everything was like a preparation for us, to Bnei Israel, to be able to hold to the Gedusha as much as possible. Although we went down to the 49 level, but in certain area which is really severe, we didn't fail, right? And that's the same way the reason why Moshe was sending the spies to the land of Egypt, to the land of Israel, because it was like in the same context of the land of Egypt at the time, as it says, "Kemase eretz Canaan asher ani mevi etchem shama lo tasu." Don't do the same thing that the land of Canaan they doing over there. And he sent 12 meraglim, each one represent one tribe, right? 12 tribes. And the Ari Zal and the Ari Kadosh says that actually they had, it's called Ibur Neshama. Ibur is conceived, like when a woman gets pregnant, but here it's on a spiritual level, and they actually conceived it temporarily at the time, the souls of the original son of Yaakov Avinu. Judah, Reuven, Menashe, right? All of them. And that helped them actually to assess the land. And actually it was part of the preparation, not only assessing, but they're getting the Kedusha in, right? So we know that a righteous person influence the environment, right? Is influencing the environment. You see something, you're feeling something suddenly. And that's why we have to have all the spiritual leaders. And the explanation of the decree of the 40 years, according to what it says from the Rav HaKadosh Magid Mikoznitz, Zechuto Yagן Alenu. So he said, והנה בששת ימי בראשית, קבע השם יתברך את סדר הבריאה. So already at the 6 days of the creation, Hashem determined the order of the creation and what's going to happen. And we have a schedule that the entire creation run by it. Everything that will happen, wars, things, family, people getting married, etc., etc. All the events in the world, everything, the good one, the opposite one, everything is scheduled, everything is determined already in the 6 days of creation. Even when it says right at the beginning of the verses, then our sages say that's a hint already for the 4 exiles and the day of Mashiach. Everything is there. But inside that schedule, Hashem determined like an override mechanism. It's called anhaga pnimit, an inner hanhaga. Hanhaga is ruling. On the same way that you have ofan betoch ofan, like a tire and a tube inside, right? So he said, ישראל יכולים להביא לתיקון הגמור, גם קודם הזמן הקצוב, על פי לוח הזמנים הרגיל. So he said here that Israel, we can bring to the final redemption prior to the scheduled time. I'm trying to think about the analogy. Let's say that the train is supposed to go, the old train. Okay, old train is good for the analogy. With the steam train, right? So it needs to go from point A to B. If you put more coal, charcoal, whatever, and you have more heat, then basically it will go faster. This is our responsibility. We can make it faster. Burning more fuel, doing more mitzvot, doing more chesed, etc. We can get to the point B faster. Now, it doesn't matter if we do or not. Eventually, the train will arrive to the point B. But we want to do it faster. Because it said, by our work, learning, davening, etc., we can break the evil inclination, we can bring the negative things and change the entire creation and the entire order. For example, it says, if first man, Adam, right, wasn't eating, didn't do the sin of the tree, then that's it. The whole world will be fixed. There was no sins, nothing. It was something different. And then we have other chances that we blew it up. So, and he said, the time that was scheduled for Bnei Israel to enter, right, was not for 40 years. That changed, right? That changed. But they say here actually that the time for entering to the land of Israel, right, was supposed to be actually really after 40 years. As it says in the Brit Ben Abetarim, it says in the covenant between the parts, that Vedor Revi'i Yashuvu Hena, that in the fourth generation they will return. Ki lo shalem avona emori adena, because the sins of the nation called Emori, they didn't do the quota of their sins. So there was no time. Time didn't arrive yet, right? So Hashem needed like to tell them to wait. Or basically what he said here, he says, indeed, Hashem told Moshe, send people for you. If they will fulfill their task properly, then because of their Gedusha and the strength of the souls of the 12 tribes that conceived in them, they will enlight the land of Israel in a light of Gedusha. And they will set up a Gedusha fire that will consume the negative forces, and then it will be the final fix. And then we don't need to wait for the time. And then the schedule is out of the window. And they don't need to wait for the 40 years of the Emori to complete their sins. They could enter immediately. But because they failed, right, they despised the land, they give a Lashon Hara on the land, etc. So they failed. So said, okay, so we remain with the original plan. We have to wait 40 years. So yes, it was a punishment, but basically it could be changed not to a punishment, but to expedite the time of entering. But because they failed, they needed to stay. And we're going to stop here on page Samechei. And Bezat Hashem on Thursday, we're going to continue with this
Yeah, thank you.
rest of them. Thank you.
Yeah.